Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I love the show.
What a journey to be on, running for president along with 23 other Democratic candidates.
Yeah. It's like a rugby scrum.
Yeah, it really is, right?
Crowded.
Do you guys get like a bulk discount? Is this like a Costco run? What's going on?
That's right.
Why do you think so many Democrats are running for president right now?
Well, I think we're like the Avengers. We all want to save America. It's not like the Hunger Games, the Republicans in 2016. And
right.
So I think people bring different experiences. For me, my experience is I was the first in my family to go to college. I know why people work hard. My wife and I have got 2 kids, 2 and 7 months. So we're fighting healthcare companies. We're worried about childcare. We're worried about our kids' safety. He went to preschool for the first day today. I think my wife dropped him off and then waited in the parking lot for 5 hours. She didn't want to let him go. And so all these issues that are especially generational, and I'm paying off my student loans. We get it, we live it, and put me in the White House and I'll be a voice for those issues because I know what they mean to so many people.
But let me ask you this though, that there are so many Democratic candidates who seem to be speaking to similar issues. Yeah. You know, they're speaking about universal pre-K, they're speaking about gun control, they're speaking about student debts, etc. Are you thinking of anything to differentiate yourself? Maybe a mustache or a monocle or something? No one's wearing a monocle, that'll set you apart.
No one's wearing
the guy with the thing?
I'm wearing an orange ribbon today because I think gun violence and ending gun violence has to be the #1 issue for the next president because it's the most important issue that doesn't have a champion.
That's interesting. So that's your platform. So then tell me about it then, because Democrats have been on the gun control, in the conversation, sensible gun reform. What is your proposal?
So first and foremost, I approach it as a father who sends his kid to school, as a former prosecutor in Oakland, who saw street violence and also domestic violence, and somebody who went to Congress when Sandy Hook happened. And then we had thoughts and prayers, nothing.
Right.
San Bernardino, Charleston, Vegas, Pulse, nothing. And I'm just getting frustrated. And I saw after Parkland that while we were always being told, you just mourn the dead, don't talk about what you could have done to protect them, that the parents and students picked themselves up and they marched and they wanted to do something.
Right.
And they converged with people on the south side of Chicago. They converged with the Brady and the Giffords Group and the Sandy Hook Promise, and they beat 17 NRA-endorsed members of Congress. So what I think we can do, and what I would do as president, first and foremost, buy back every single assault weapon in America. 50 million of them, buy them back. Australia did it, New Zealand did it, we can do it too.
Wow. You say that, but you do know, and I don't know if I should be the one to tell you, but there are bumper stickers in this country that read, "You can pry my gun from my cold, dead hands."
Yeah.
So are you proposing confiscation if people don't allow for their assault rifles to be bought back?
What I'm proposing is that we're going to buy them back. If you want to keep it, it can only be possessed at a hunting club or a shooting range. And if you don't give it back, then like anything else, yes, it would be a criminal penalty. There's not going to be a roundup or anything like that. But I think that we love our kids more than we love our guns. And we were always told, don't mess with the NRA.
Yes.
I think people are saying now, don't mess with the moms. They're going to have our back on this issue. And so ban and buy back, but also background checks.
Yes.
And then I went to the south side of Chicago a couple weeks ago, in the Englewood neighborhood. And I know this issue is not just churches and schools where the shootings are happening. A woman named Tamar Manasseh, she's taken over a couple blocks. And she told me something that just really hit me right here. She said, you look at all of these like they're murders. They're also suicides. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, if you're pulling the trigger, chances are you don't want to live. You're hungry, you're stressed out, you're looking over your shoulder because you don't know who's after you. You're not going to take your own life, but if you kill someone else, you're going to be retaliated against. And she said, if that's the condition of your neighborhood, why would you even want to live to be 30 or 40? So block by block, we have to invest in jobs and education and put hope where places really, really need hope. So not a crime bill, a hope bill.
Wow, that's an interesting approach to take to the whole problem. You're in a group that is really progressive. As you said, it's more Avengers than it is Hunger Games. As you saw, though, at the convention that the Democrats just held, there was a lot of booing for anyone that decided, no, maybe Thanos should keep one ring. how do you align with the rest of the Democratic views? For instance, Medicare for all has become the bigger conversation, with like Bernie on one side saying this is it, Medicare for all, which many people assume to mean no private health insurance. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, Medicare for anyone who wants it. That's how I see it. So it's a public option. It recognizes that a lot of people, they like their union plan. Let them keep it. But right now, I think every person should have health care. It's a health care guarantee. It's a bigger government responsibility to make sure it's affordable, accessible, and you're not charged more with the pre-existing condition. So that's my plan. But I also, again, generationally, I see that we have become the GoFundMe generation. Like when someone gets sick, we don't count on the government anymore that we're going to find a cure. We just set up a GoFundMe account. And I want to change that. I want to invest in genomics research and targeted therapies and data sharing and use that as a way to bring down the cost and extend the quality of life.
Right, you say invest, but my question is like, where do you get the money to do that? Because I mean, if you've seen the big issue America has faced is healthy people have gone, well, I don't want or need health insurance. Young people have said, I can't afford this health insurance. So now you have sick people jumping onto the exchanges, and then you have people who can afford it jumping onto private ones. So how do you figure out where the pieces go and where the money fits in?
Yeah, first, we will always be the strongest military in the world. I don't think we have to spend more than the next 7 countries do on their military to do that. So I'm going to reduce the nuclear weapons budget. $1 trillion over the next 30 years is what we're going to spend on nuclear weapons. I think the health and education of our people, that should be the tip of the spear as far as our national defense. We're going to reform the capital gains tax so that the wealthiest aren't paying a lower corporate tax rate than the lowest paid employee. And we're going to put back in place the inheritance tax to make sure that generational wealth is not just passed on. That will go a long way to covering this, but investing in cures, again, I think the long-term return on that investment is going to be lower healthcare costs.
Wow. You know, a lot of people have called you fairly centrist, but it seems like your ideas would be considered left and radical for many people. When you're running in this game, there is one thing that is going to hang over your head. And that is, as you joked, you know, the one thing that you joked about as well is you are another white man. That's, you said that, not my words, right? I see you for you. I see you for you, right? I don't see color. And so, and you had an interesting response to this. You said that you understand that you're in this position, and you understand that there will be certain blind spots that you have, or places where your information is not complete because of who you are, and so that's when you will look to others. The criticism has been by some that by that definition you should be making way for somebody else. How do you then say to somebody, hey, vote for me, another white guy, when there are people of color who are running, if by your words you are saying that they don't have the blind spots that you have? Yeah,
well, I believe I do see other identities. And any white male running first has to acknowledge their white male privilege.
Right.
That is real, and you should acknowledge it. You should also acknowledge that for communities of color, particularly African American communities, I think we have an original sin of slavery that we still have not wholly and rightfully dealt with. And I'm supporting, creating a commission on reparations to figure out how to deal with that and make sure that we right so many communities who have been wronged, by investing in their communities through education, healthcare. Because even for me, growing up, first in the family to go to college, it would have been much harder if I was a young black man. It would have been a different criminal justice system. It would have cost more for college. African Americans take on more student debt. It would have cost more for healthcare. So you have to see and understand that experience. And when I say pass the mic, I mean put together a diverse team who can speak to those issues when you may not necessarily be the right person to speak to those issues.
Well, it's an interesting approach that you're going to take to it. I do find one part of your story particularly more fascinating than the other parts, and that is that you're from Idaho. Iowa, sorry.
Yeah,
you're from Iowa. You're from Iowa. And your parents voted for Donald Trump.
We're going to have to work on them.
But really, this is it goes to the core of the question for me. If you could not convince your parents to vote for Hillary Clinton, how do you think you would convince other Americans to not vote for Donald Trump when they did? So using your parents as that archetype, how do you then convince other Americans to not vote for him again?
So don't dismiss people like my parents. I also married a girl from southern Indiana, and she comes from the same hometown as Mike Pence. And so, I'm around this, and I reach across the dinner table before I ever have to reach across the aisle at work. I go on Fox News just so my family can see me on TV. That's like the only way they're going to see me. So I went to Congress, and I've worked in Congress to pass bipartisan legislation. I worked with a Republican to get rapid DNA in our police stations so that rape victims can get justice more swiftly, and rape kits don't sit on the shelves, but the innocent can also be cleared more swiftly. I worked with Representative Sensenbrenner from Wisconsin. It got signed into law by President Trump. So I'm not going to dismiss working with Republicans. I'm not going to dismiss Republicans who wanted higher wages, lower healthcare costs, and a brighter future. Put me on that stage, and I'm going to dismiss the guy who has utterly, utterly failed them, racked up more and more national debt for these tax cuts, and reduced our standing in the world. I think that'll appeal to a lot of Republicans. I can add states.
Wow. You've got an aggressive approach, and you're really confident about it. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks,
An interesting journey. Congressman Eric Swalwell, everybody.